Family portrait. The television was always loud, too loud, until every conversation was distorted, fragmented. Dinner sounded like, leave me alone. I love you sounded like inertia. Please sounded like sacrifice. Believe me, the television was always too loud. At 3 in the morning I woke from ordinary nightmares to hear the television pounding the ceiling above my head. Sometimes it was just white noise, the end of another broadcasting day. Other times it was a bad movie made worse by the late hour and interrupted sleep. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands above your head sounded too much like, trust me, the world is yours. The aliens are coming, the aliens are coming sounded too much like, just one more beer, sweetheart, and then we'll go home. Junior, I lost the money sounded too much like, you'll never have a dream come true. I don't know where all the years went. I remember only the television in detail. All the other moments worth remembering became stories that changed with each telling, until nothing was aboriginal or recognizable. For instance, the summer of 1972 or 1973 are only in our minds. The reservation disappeared. I remember standing on the front porch of our HUD house, practicing my plastic saxophone, when the reservation disappeared. Finally, I remember thinking. But I was 6 years old, or 7. I don't know for sure how old. I was Indian. Just like that, there was nothing beyond the bottom step. My older brother told me he'd give me a quarter if I jumped into the unknown. My twin sisters cried equal tears. Their bicycles had been parked out by the pine trees. All of it vanished. My mother came out to investigate the noise. She stared out past the bottom step for a long time. But there was no expression on her face when she went back to wash the potatoes. My father was happily drunk, and he stumbled off the bottom step before any of us could stop him. He came back years later with diabetes and a pocket full of quarters. The seeds in the cuffs of his pants dropped to the floor of our house and grew into orange trees. Nothing is possible without vitamin C, my mother told us, but I knew she meant it to say, don't want everything so much. Often the stories contain people who never existed before our collective imaginations created them. My brother and I remember our sisters scraped all the food that dropped off our plates during dinner into a pile in the center of the table. Then they placed their teeth at the edge of the table and scraped all the food into their open mouths. Our parents don't remember that happening, and our sisters cry out, no, we were never that hungry. Still, my brother and I cannot deny the truth of our story. We were there. Maybe hunger informs our lives. My family tells me stories of myself, small events and catastrophic diseases I don't remember but accept as the beginning of my story. After surgery to relieve fluid pressure on my brain, I started to dance. No, my mother tells me, you had epileptic seizures. No, my father tells her, he was dancing. During the Tonight Show, I pretended to sleep on the couch while my father sat in his chair and watched the television. It was Doc's trumpet that made you dance, my father told me. No, it was grand mal seizures punctuated by moments of extreme perception, my mother told him. She wanted to believe I could see the future. She secretly knew the doctors had inserted another organ into my skull, transplanted a 20th century vision. One winter she threw me outside in my underwear and refused to let me back into the house until I answered her questions. Will my children love me when I'm old? She asked, but I knew she wanted to ask me, will I regret my life? Then there was music, scratched 45s and 8-track tapes. We turned the volume too high for the speakers until the music was tinny and distorted. But we danced until my oldest sister tore her only pair of nylons and wept violently. But we danced until we shook dust down from the ceiling and chased bats out of the attic into the daylight. But we danced in our mismatched clothes and broken shoes. I wrote my name in magic marker on my shoes, my first name on the left toe and my last name on the right toe, with my true name somewhere in between. But we danced with empty stomachs and nothing for dinner except sleep. All night we lay awake with sweat on our backs and blisters on our soles. All night we fought waking nightmares until sleep came with nightmares of its own. I remember the nightmare about the thin man in a big hat who took the Indian children away from their parents. He came with scissors to cut hair and a locked box to hide all the amputated braids. But we danced under wigs and between unfinished walls, through broken promises and around empty cupboards. It was a dance. Still, we can be surprised. My sister told me she could recognize me by the smell of my clothes. She said she could close her eyes and pick me out of a crowd by just the smell of my shirt. I knew she meant to say, "I love you." With all the systems of measurement we had available, I remember the degree of sunlight most. It was there continuously, winter or summer. The cold came by accident, the sun by design. Then there was the summer of sniffing gas. My sisters bent their heads at impossible angles to reach the gas tanks of the BIA vehicles. Everything so bright and precise it hurt the brain. Eardrums pounded by the slightest noise. A dog barking could shape the earth. I remember my brother stretched out across the lawnmower, his mouth pressed tightly to the mouth of the gas tank. It was a strange kiss, his first kiss, his lips burnt and clothes flammable. He tried to dance away. He named every blade of grass he crushed when he fell on his ass. Everything underwater, like walking across the bottom of Benjamin Lake, past dead horses and abandoned tires. Legs tangled in seaweed, dance, dance again, kick the feet until you break free. Stare up at the surface, sunlight filtered through water like fingers, like a hand filled with the promise of love and oxygen. Warning: intentional misuse by deliberately concentrating and inhaling the contents can be harmful or fatal. How much do we remember of what hurts us most? I've been thinking about pain, how each one of us constructs our past to justify what we feel now, how each successive pain distorts the preceding. Let's say I remember sunlight as a measurement of the story, how it changed the shape of the family portrait. My father shields his eyes and makes his face a shadow. He could be anyone then, but my eyes are closed in the photo. I cannot remember what I was thinking. Maybe I wanted to stand, stretch my legs, raise my arms above my head, open my mouth wide and fill my lungs. Breathe, breathe. Maybe my hair is so black it collects all the available light. Suddenly it is winter and I'm trying to start the car. "Give it more gas," my father shouts from the house. I put my foot to the firewall, feel the engine shudder in response. My hands grip the steering wheel tightly. They are not mine this morning. These hands are too strong, too necessary for even the smallest gestures. I can make fists and throw my anger into walls and plasterboard. I can pick up a toothbrush or a pistol, touch the face of a woman I love. Years ago, these hands might have held the spear that held the salmon, that held the dream of a tribe. Years ago, these hands might have touched the hands of dark-skinned men who touched medicine and the magic of ordinary gods. Now I put my hand to the gear shift, my heart to the cold wind. "Give it more gas," my father yells. I put the car into drive and then I am gone down the road, carefully, touching the brake like I touch my dreams. Once my father and I drove this same road and he told the story of the first television he ever saw. The television was in the window of a store in Coeur d'Alene. Me and all the guys would walk down there and watch it. Just one channel, and all it showed was a woman sitting on top of a television that showed the same woman sitting on top of the same television, over and over until it hurt your eyes and head. That's the way I remember it. And she was always singing some song, I think it was a girl on top of the world. This is how we find our history, how we sketch our family portrait, how we snap the photograph at the precise moment when someone's mouth is open and ready to ask a question. How? There is a girl on top of the world. She is owl dancing with my father. That is the story by which we measure all our stories, until what we understand is that one story can never be all. There is a girl on top of the world. She is singing the blues. That is the story by which we measure heartbreak. Maybe she is my sister, or my older sister, or my oldest sister dead in a house fire. Maybe she is my mother with her hands in the fry bread. Maybe she is my brother. There is a girl on top of the world. She is telling us her story. That is the story by which we measure the beginning of our lives. Listen, listen, what can be calling? She is why we hold each other tight. She is why our fear refuses naming. She is the fancy dancer. She is forgiveness. The television was always loud, too loud, until every emotion was measured by the half hour. We hid our faces behind masks that suggested other histories. We touched hands accidentally and our skin sparked like a personal revolution. We stared across the room at each other, waited for the conversation and the conversion, watched wasps and flies battering against the windows. We were children. We were open mouths, open in hunger, in anger, in laughter, in prayer. Jesus, we all want to survive.